Hello and welcome to another episode of the Chrissie Mayr podcast. We are on iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, and SoundCloud. And if you're listening to us on iTunes right now, please leave a 5-star review. I'm so excited to be recording my very first stand-up album on Thursday, January 6th at Governor's in Levittown, Long Island. That's where I'm from. So I'm very excited to have this sort of homecoming album taping. It's going to be like a special as well. It's going to be everywhere. But again, if you live on Long Island or if I went to high school with you or even like if you're a New Yorker, I better see you at this album recording. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be great. It's a long time coming. I'm really excited. So you can get tickets for the album recording on my website, ChrissieMayr.com, or go to the Governors in Levittown Comedy Club website. I believe it's govs.govs.com. Got a bunch more dates coming up after the album recording. I know I'm going to be back in Jersey and then to Savannah, Georgia, and then Tampa, Florida in March. May also be planning another trip back to Dallas in the new year. So just keep an eye out. And again, if you live somewhere and you have a venue or a club nearby that you really love that doesn't require vax papers, shout them out. Shout me out. Tag us both on Twitter. You know, a lot of these venues do like to see that activity on social media and they do notice it. I've got t-shirts for sale. Go to tpublic.com. I still have my Chrissie Mayr Christmas shirts for sale, but you know, I accept that Christmas is come and gone, but I still have fabulous Mayor shirts that you can get at T Public. I also have this very patriotic Make America Great Again. Comes in all sizes, all colors. Go to tpublic.com to get yours. I've also teamed up with Silk City Hot Sauce. I have my very own hot sauce, guys. It's called Nightmare. Go to levinsky'stopshelf.com. Use promo code CMP. You're going to get a couple bucks off this bottle of delicious hot sauce. It's like a Verde sauce. It's good on eggs. It's really good. My friends who love hot sauce give it the seal of approval. So that's all that matters. And I'm on the cover in a little sexy outfit. So what more could you need? Check that out. All right. I'm so excited to have this guy on the podcast. We met, gosh, this was already like October. We met at Exxxotica in DC, or is it November? Oh, it was. I'm confusing my conventions. I'm confusing it with the Nashville one. All right, so this was a couple weeks ago. All right, I'm retarded. I'm excited to have him on the show today. He's an adult film star. You've seen him on Playboy TV. He's an actor. He's a director. He's a writer. He's a triple threat. It's Mr. Marcus.
It's so funny.
How
What's
are
happening?
you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm over here ready, planning for the New Year's Eve
Oh
festivities.
yeah. Hold on. Was it your birthday recently?
A few months ago.
Okay, never mind. I saw, like, in one of your Instagrams, it was, like, happy birthday, and then I was about to feel bad that I had not wished you a happy birthday.
No, it wasn't me. It was probably somebody else. It was a friend of mine's, his birthday.
Okay.
So
What do you
yeah.
do for New Year's? Because to me, I feel like over the years of being an adult, we put so much pressure on having, like, a super lit New Year's Eve, and then that pressure usually results in, like, a
Poof.
bad situation. I don't know. I've had so many New Year's Eves go awry that I just try not to do anything anymore.
Right, right. I mean, that's one way of doing things. Just letting it all just happen. But I feel like you got to just go in a direction of where you want it to be and just kind of hang on for the ride. Whatever happens, happens. You know what I mean? There's a goal
Um,
to have a good time. But what happens along the way is usually a lot better than what you planned. You know what I mean?
okay, so you're just, like, sort of just trust, you know what I mean? You're like, make a
Well,
plan and just have faith.
yeah. It's like the best. I had a friend of mine. She used to do it every year now. This was 5 years ago. We went to Las Vegas and we went to the T-Pain was DJing. So we go there, T-Pain's the homie. So, we got a little VIP.
Do you
He's
know him? You know T-Pain?
Yeah. He was a fan.
Ooh.
And I
Oh,
was
shit, he's a fan.
it was fan love. It was fan love. So we connected and but he was busy doing his thing. So afterwards, he's like, "Yo, you going to the after party?" But he didn't tell me where the after party was, and he just took off. And I was sitting there taking pictures with him and his mom and his dad. I mean, I was
You
hanging
met
out.
T-Pain's mom and dad?
Yeah, I was hanging with the
T-mom and T-dad?
T-mom, and T-dad. I'm letting them know.
Mr. and Mrs. Payne. What do you call them?
I guess I would call him
Mama Payne. Yeah.
Mama Payne. That's her name, Mama Payne. That's what she uses on Instagram, actually. Mama Payne. So it was just an epic ass. I didn't know where the party was. Me and her was hanging out by the bar. 2 minutes later, Kevin Garnett walks by and he goes upstairs. And I'm like, where did he go? Let's follow him, but we couldn't because it was VIP. So we went outside, we walked around, and there was a VIP entrance to this after party. And I walked up to it. I didn't know nobody, but the security guy looked at me and says, "You look like you belong here."
Ooh, that's a compliment.
It was so dope. We just walked in and we go upstairs and it's just VIP, open bar, open buffet. They had lobster, filet mignon, and P. Diddy was there.
Wow, this was in Vegas?
This was in Vegas. This was 5 years ago.
Which hotel?
It was at the Palazzo.
Okay.
And so every year she hits me up to go to see what I'm doing for New Year's. She's like,
that's kind of nice. I imagine you've been in the adult industry for 27 years. You probably have like a lot of friends at this point. You probably are never left on a New Year's Eve with like nothing to do. I bet you always get invited to barbecues on 4th of July. I bet like it's kind of nice. I bet you always have somewhere to go and like a party to go to.
Right. It's a curse and a blessing because you got to be in 5 places at once usually. You know what I mean? You got to, and in LA it's so spread out. Orange County, the Valley, San Diego. Everybody's having something, and you get invited. And I always like to show up because I never know what's going to happen. So I always like to just show up and make it happen.
Yeah.
So
yeah, because you don't want to feel FOMO.
Right. And that's a real thing. That's a real thing.
Are you based out of LA?
Yeah. Born and raised.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like you have good boundaries? Like you can say no when you're feeling exhausted, or do you feel like you have to kind of say yes to everything because you don't want to like let anybody down?
That's a great question because it's been both. It's definitely, I feel like when I'm there, what happens is I always think that wouldn't have happened if I didn't show up. There's so many things that have happened because I show up that, it's hard for me to not want to.
You're like, it's just not going to be fun if I'm not there. Like everyone else is going to have a worse time if I don't show up.
Right. I feel like that's my job. My job is to show up and
make fun happen. That is so true. We met at Exxxotica in DC. Yeah, this was just a couple weeks ago. But it feels like forever because I feel like it's just such a busy time.
Right.
And that was the first adult film star. I don't even know what you call it, adult film convention that I'd ever gone to. Actually, no, I'd been to AVN, but this was the first time that I had a booth and I was doing live streaming, every day, like 3 days in a row. And it was really interesting. And then me and Zia, my friend who was live streaming with me, and she has an OnlyFans and she's like thinking of maybe putting a toe into camming. I don't know if she would ever do porn. Probably not. But my friend Zia. Yeah. Remember Zia, the blonde girl? Yeah. She was like thinking about camming. So she was talking to the Chatterbait people. And then we were just doing a lap and we walked past your booth. And then it might've been like the second or third thing you said, you were like, hi. And you were like, I'm so thirsty. We're like, this poor guy. Let's go. And Zia drinks so much water. We had like a 10-pack of giant Smart Waters like under our table because she's like constantly drinking water. And we were like, let's go get Mr. Marcus one of these big ass bottles of water we have because it's just you don't think about it and it's so easy. You're like talking all day.
Right.
But, I thought that was funny. That was
forgot about that. You saved my life.
You're like, I'm desperate.
I was like, need to go get water, and I couldn't step without somebody wanting to talk, and it's just like I need to get water. And you guys came along and just saved the day. And I owe you an apology because I gave you the wrong room number. we were having an after party. It was like a, and it
Oh,
was
yeah, don't worry about that. That's
I
okay.
know, but I felt bad because I was like, because I really wanted to like continue, the
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 hang, yeah, a bunch of us
yeah,
were
'cause you
hanging
guys,
out, like,
yes,
at the
yes.
after the bar after party, and then a bunch of people were hanging out in the lobby. There was a guy doing magic tricks, and then you gave Zia the wrong, hotel room. We, like, knocked on the door, we, like, waited a couple minutes, and then we were like, "We're exhausted, let's just go to bed anyway." So,
That's
it's
yeah,
all good.
it's
Yeah.
okay. We're gonna somewhere in 2022.
We were
We're
up plenty late anyway that night, and we had fun in the room.
right, right, right. Yeah,
Um
it was like one of those kickbacks where a lot of good people, it was people from the industry who've been in a long time, no freaky shit. It was just more like drinking, listening to music, and talking.
It's interesting because I after a couple days of, like, being at this convention, my impression is that, the people that are just, like, patrons or fans of porn are the ones that are a little bit more inappropriate, a little bit more, like, crossing boundaries, a little bit, like, making themselves too comfortable, and then the guys and girls in the industry are more respectful, are more professional, are kind of, like, more polite, and, I think most people would think, "Oh, it would it be the other way around?" Like, "Oh, you do this for a living, anything goes," and it's like,
Yeah, yeah,
"No,
yeah.
I."
You're right. You're
Yeah.
just yeah, nah, nah. 20. I've been in business 27 years, and all of that happened. All that happened in the beginning, all that happened in the middle, but towards the end of it, it just really got more about the business and respecting boundaries, and you start to see patterns, and you start to see like things going off the rails. You know what I mean? So I become more of the guy who keeps everything in line. I'm the guy who keeps everybody in. You know, all the if you're gonna fuck up, we're gonna you
So
get
you're like the
handled.
dad.
I am. I'm
Yeah.
daddy Marcus now.
Daddy Marcus. You're like, "Who needs a ride? Who needs an Advil?" "Who's dehydrated here?" How did you get in to the industry?
Avian. That was pretty much where everything came together for me. I had been like kind of seeking out the information about the business, which is funny, which is ironic because I see that same look in other people's eyes. They're walking around the convention like, who do I talk to? How do I get in? I want to do this too. And I think
Men or women or both?
both. I
Mhm.
get both now. In the beginning, it was mainly men, because I think they felt the most comfortable. But now women are definitely, outspoken and express themselves just as strongly as the men do. So I hear from both, you know.
Yeah.
But that I was the same way. I was just curious. I wanted to know more about the business, and from the research that I had done, it said AVN. Go to AVN. This was in '93. So the
93. So Avian was, like, the top convention, like, the top sort of, like, name brand, I guess.
Right, that's where all the like, the Hollywood had the Oscars and porn had AVN.
Yeah. It was definitely a fancier vibe at AVN. It was, like, gowns, it was, like, bougie, and AVN feels like, wow, like, what are your credits? It's like a who's who.
Right,
And Exotic just feels like a little bit more fun and casual and laid back and almost like
right,
it's just feeling like anybody could get into this, like, "Oh, just set up a webcam," and it's like it's kind of
right,
nice in that way. It's more to me, it feels like, I don't know, more user friendly.
right. Yeah, and that's a good point. I never heard it put like that, but it you do feel like, oh shit, anybody can do this. I can do this. And you see it now. It's like an explosion. OnlyFans, Pornhub, those two dynamics really just opened up the market. And I think people looked at it a way to make money and express themselves sexually and, to feel like they belong to something. And then on top of that, with COVID happening, it gave people an avenue for revenue, you know?
Yeah. And it
So
was a perfect storm. Everyone's home wanting to jerk off and, and then everyone's home wanting to create content. So, yeah, and people made a killing. Like, we all have heard stories about, people who've bought a
right,
house with their OnlyFans money.
right,
I was in Texas.
right.
I saw a car, the license plate said OnlyFans. Um,
Wow, I didn't know
and
that.
and, like, I'm just, more power to these people. I'm all about multiple income streams. I'm all about like breaking free. Don't work for the man if you don't have to or want to. Did you when so you went to an AVN convention and like so who like sort of how did you get your first break? What was it like? So this is 1993. Do you have to hand them a VHS of your like audition tape? Like how does that go down?
Uh, Long story short, I met Heather Lee. Shout out to Heather Lee and Ron Hightower. They were dating. They were a couple. And I was going up an escalator into the convention, and it just Heather, such a flirt. She just looked at me and says, "Hey, are you in the business?" And I said no. And then she
Not
says,
yet.
"Nah, yeah." I was thinking, right. I said, "No." She says, "Do you want to be?" And I was like, "Hell yeah." So then instead of her initiating, she initiated, but she turned to Ron and she said, "Ron, don't you think he should give him? Don't you think he'd be good for the movies?" And Ron, to his credit, which is an OG who I just talked to, the other day for Christmas, he said, "Here's my card," and he handed me his card. And I wish I
Wow.
could find that card because I keep everything, right? I keep it all. And if I can never find that card, he gave it to me and it said, he said, "Call me when you get back to LA," because the convention was in Las Vegas, and it was just to me, it just kind of like it like stamped it because I live in LA, and I was like, he said, "Call me when you get to LA," so I was like, this happened. This is going to happen in LA.
Okay. So it felt like everything came together 'cause
It just kind of
from your
right.
story, it sounds like you had a very easy time. Like the everything opened up, everything clicked for you. Like you're in an elevator with somebody else in the industry and they're like, "Oh, are you in the industry?" Basically like giving you vibes like, "Yeah, you should be." Like it seemed like it all worked out for you. Where I'm sure a lot of guys listening are going, "Oh, it's that easy."
Nah, it wasn't at all. I had to there's been all kind of ups and downs in the course of things. 27 years later, it's just like what the fuck has happened? But or 28 years really. But Heather, Heather came to me later when I was in the convention walking around, and she walks over to me and hands me her phone number on a little piece of paper.
Woo!
So I called her first. I called her first. And me and her just clicked. And we clicked and sexually we clicked. Everything was just firing all cylinders. So to her, it was confirmation of something that she saw that, you know, uh,
She's like
I,
a
I,
talent scout.
I guess so.
It's like win-win for her.
I
Yeah.
guess.
Is it like is it sort of impossible to be in the industry if you are not somebody who's open to like the lifestyle or the idea of open relationships? Are there, do you feel like that makes everything easier? Do you feel like if someone is kind of like, "No, I'm with my husband," or I'm not into the open lifestyle thing at all." Are those
Right.
people sort of shunned or judged, or is it easier and are more people just that way naturally?
I think it's more natural. I think sexuality is just so diverse and unique to the individual that you have to respect people's boundaries and acceptance and comfortability because that's some people are nervous they want to be thawed. They're ice cold, but they want to
They
be warm.
want to be thawed, that's interesting. I've known people like that, yeah.
You feel me? Like,
Like, that's a comedy too, people will show up to comedy shows, audience members, their arms will be folded, and it's the same thing, it's like, "You're here, you wanna laugh, you're really making me work for it," like, they want to be thawed because they would not be at a comedy club
right,
if they just need help getting there, and I always have to
exactly.
remind myself that when I feel like I have a tough customer or, like, tough audience members, I'm like, "I gotta melt this person, like, I have
Yeah,
to find a way in."
right. Because they got layers and layers of of resistance and denial and all that crap. And you just got to dig through all that, and then once you crack it, shit,
You don't
that's
go
it's that.
back.
Yeah,
Isn't that what
yeah.
they say? Once you
Right.
Okay, cool. So it definitely helps if you're more, like, kind of sexually in touch with yourself, and right, this is a business that I'm sure it's, like, the more perceptive and in tune with your own energy and others' energy that you're working with, the better everything's gonna do. Because it
Yeah,
really is like a language. It's like you have to read body language, you have to read energy, you have to pick up on, like, hints and cues. Do you feel like to me, it seems like to be successful in the adult industry, it's like you do have to be, like, pretty sensitive, and very, just observe, be like a good observer of humanity and cues and,
Right. Well,
hints and stuff.
it doesn't come easy. It's only because the last few years I've had my ups and downs, and I've had to really reflect on a lot of things. I start to understand better. You don't really know when you're in your 20s and you're just kind of like, you're just like, woohoo, like wham bam, thank you,
Yeah.
man. You're just out getting yours. You're just trying to get yours. So it's really hard to be sensitive to what other people were feeling and what they need. Um, but I say I try to tell people younger than me, and I even relate to people, my age. I just turned 51, so it's kind of like when it's patience and listening. You have to. It's a lot of work, and people don't really want to take the time to, but you have the ability to, because most people bitch and complain about shit that they can easily do and be done with, but they fight things. We don't want to change. We want to be a certain way, or so and so hurt me and made me feel this way. So there, and so I see it, even young and old. So it's like you got to have some kind of guidance. Somebody comes along and who can fill in all the things that you can't do, show you how you can do them too. Got me? We're always actually every day is prepared for you to learn something. You just have to be open to it, you know?
Yeah, it sucks to see people, and I know this because I've done this myself. You take your past hurt or your past like trauma, whatever, from a past relationship, past boyfriend, and you don't no one's perfect, right? You're not gonna figure everything out before you meet that new person, but like to be conscious of what fears, what insecurities are coming from a past relationship or a past hurt so that you
Yeah.
are not like tainting your current thing or your new thing. And
Especially if
that's
you want it to work. If you want it to
yeah.
work, then put in the work, you know? You feel me? And that may mean some growth. That may mean some forgiveness, some understanding. It's not gonna kill you to be a good, to better yourself or to better the relationship. It's not gonna it only benefits you. I believe that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I think, like, the degree to which, like, if you're hardened and crusty and hurt and pained and you approach everyone at arm's length, like, that other person wins then, because if the pain can get you to shut down your heart,
Right,
um,
right.
well, then, like, you're kind of, like, robbing yourself the opportunity to just, like, live a full life, and it's like, no, that's why, like, staying vulnerable and open is actually a strength, and, just
Yeah, if you can do it in a way where you don't feel vulnerable or feel like you're like opening yourself up to pain and hurt, but you can do it in a way where uh you're giving something, but you're giving something because of that. You
yeah.
got me? I'm giving you the peace. I'm giving you the room and the space to deal with your shit. But in return, I'm getting you to understand, you know?
Yeah, definitely. What do you think in your, like, wow, 27, 28 years, like, what have been the biggest challenges or, like, difficulties you faced?
Um, you know, shit, who knows? So many, so much. Patience. We don't. You can plan things, but doesn't mean it's actually going to turn out the way you want it to, and you have to be okay with that. Okay with that to say, all right, shoot, that didn't work out, but all right, now I know what to do differently. Make adjustments. I tell people all the time, make adjustments. I can walk into a room and feel a certain way, and it might make me feel that way for a few minutes, but I got to know it's not a permanent feeling. If I don't want to feel that way, so I'm gonna switch it up. And I think in that decision, you have the freedom now to change the vibe, change the flow, change the outcome. So I feel like being patient is key because sometimes we come in there and we're anxious for things to go and to happen.
Mm.
But sometimes you got to take a beat. You know, destiny's right there on the side of you. If you need it ahead of you, give it a minute to lead.
So it sounds like you're a big believer in, like, you choose your thoughts.
Yeah, I see that. I mean, and you see it in the news, you see it in daily actions. You know, you're conscious of it. You're totally conscious of it because you made the you know you got a choice. You know,
Yeah, you're
so
not at the mercy of, like, propaganda or drama or somebody else's bad day, and
yeah,
sometimes people that are, like, empathetic or sympathetic to that, like, that someone else's energy or drama can really affect you, and I know this because I would carry around, like, a lot of my family drama, and then because
right,
like, you care, and then you just absorb a
right,
lot of it, but you can't take on everybody's stuff and, like, wear it
right,
like a sweater. That doesn't make you a better person. It's like you're just kinda
yeah.
holding yourself back.
Yeah, and, you know, it's tough. I just this Christmas, my mother's very aggressive and assertive in how she feels and thinks. You know, everybody else's doesn't matter. You know, and you can see I'm not opinionated. I just I spend a lot of time thinking about things and writing about things. So I just kind of come in with more thought to things. My mother's very emotional, but that could set the mood. So everybody started coming to the house, and I made a decision. I said, "Don't just let it be. Just let it be whatever it's going to be." And so, you know, we get there. My mom is like kind of in a so-so mood, and then slowly but surely, you know, my daughters show up. My nieces are having fun. My nephew's there, and you know, I had a little bit of like I wanted to deal with everything the way I deal with things as a man, as the oldest in the family. But at the same time, I was like, it's my mom, you know, and my mom. We've been doing this for a long time, and I want this to be a good time. And it just started happening, man. The flow and the rhythm and the vibe and man, I got you know, at the end of the night, my mom was saying it was like the best Christmas, and I was just like,
Huh.
I was like, cool. Took a picture
Aw.
of her, and she got the biggest smile on her face, and
Oh,
all the
wow.
grandkids are around her, and it was like, you know, it was, but you know, once you made a decision, you know, you just kind of constantly adjust, you know, to the situation, how it unfolds, and try to do your best, you know.
Yeah, and not and, like, realizing, like, you only even if you have a difficult family member, you only have control over you and, like, your
Right,
reactions
right.
to what's going on,
And how
and
and you know, and especially if you know you're a force. Like I know I'm a force. I know I can change things. I know that I just by that sheer thought of it, things can, you know, make or break, right? So I know how my family sees me, and but I also know my family pretty well. So I just, you know, I'm either inserted into the situation or I kind of observe it, and then, but I still help there to support it, right, and
yeah,
guide it if need be. You know, you can't have all these years of living and not have some kind of emotional understanding, even a spiritual one, you know,
right.
some kind of understanding that others may lack, have the but possess, but just don't know how to, you know, access it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's just like and a lot of this just comes from, like, years of living and, these lessons we have to learn.
right,
I got a couple of, folks last time because this was the second time we were trying to do this podcast. I think we tried, like, a week or 2 or so ago,
right,
and
right,
I was
right,
getting some questions from people, and this was something I was gonna talk to you about anyway, like, it's really great that you have the perspective of all these years in the industry, and a few people were asking, like, "Oh, what about" like, people wanted you to talk more about, like, the sort of testing snafu that you were involved in, like, 2012, 2013, and then maybe if you could like explain that a little bit and also like how has testing changed over the years?
right. Yeah, I think, you know, I went through a lot. Our industry, I'll put it this way, our industry is always changing, right? In the beginning, when I got in 93, 94, there was only HIV testing. That's it. And then the testing window for that was only for 3 months. So you take it in you wouldn't be required to say take a new test until 3 months later. That was the scenario in 94. You know, testing is a voluntary thing that we do for one another to, you know, to make each person comfortable with working with each other in that type of way. And then later it became STD testing, and that didn't happen around until around 2000 because we had
Wow, that is crazy to me.
yeah, you know, it is
They've only been STD testing for 20 years.
yeah. So it hadn't been a big, you know, it wasn't. We had went to HIV testing, we got it down to every 30 days at some point, and then STD came around 98, 99. So here we are finally doing STDs, but now we're only doing gonorrhea and chlamydia. And obviously now that you're tested for it, you're catching a lot of it because people are coming into the business who've never been tested for these types of things before. And it wasn't only until they were required to that they discovered they're positive. And so the procedure for that, the protocol at that point was that our testing, if you were positive, then you would get treated with penicillin. And that would be for like a 10 to 14-day period where you just didn't work. And so my situation happened around 2012 when we just started, they were testing for syphilis, but only twice a year. And we had two different testing facilities by this time because it's a lucrative business testing. Think of all the
Mhm.
COVID testing now.
We know that the last 2 years, more so
Right,
than ever. Yeah, people that not in the adult industry even know that now. Yeah.
right. It's a pretty big business. And so our industry was testing, and it's just it ranged from it went from like $25 to $75 to $120 to now I think it's up to $220 for like a full panel.
Wow.
Um, and so my situation was I got tested. I caught syphilis either had to be on set because, but I didn't know it. I started getting the symptoms from it, which had me thinking it wasn't, you got to realize I went and got tested in that same period. But when I got tested, they weren't testing me for syphilis. It was HIV and gonorrhea and all those things were coming up negative. So then when I go to my private doctor, because I'm dealing with these results, these symptoms, it comes up that I'm positive for syphilis. And I'm like, he tells me, no problem, just, get a shot, you'll be fine. It's a simple bacteria. And so I did all that. And then when I went back to test again with the industry, they happened to give me a syphilis test. And that syphilis test came back false positive, meaning I had the antibodies in my system
You were
from the
working it out. Yeah.
right. It was treated. You're cured. You're treated of syphilis. Within 24 hours after taking the shot.
Okay.
And so this had been a few days after. So I was like, I was confused. Turns out they have two different tests that they administered. One that if you're testing for syphilis for the first time, and one if you've had antibodies in your system. They should have gave me that one.
Hmm.
I explained all that to them, but they HIPAA laws and everything. It should have remained between us because they knew. I told them I had done this all through my private doctor, the facility I went through, but they started gossiping because I'm Mr. Marcus.
Who's they? You mean just like other performers? Or
No, the testing facility.
oh boy.
So
Wow.
it just started a big, so I was dealing with the industry, but I was also dealing with something very personal. And I think in hindsight, it was all handled wrong. I don't have an agent. I don't have a manager. I didn't have advisors. I was dealing
Okay.
with, so it was a lot of missteps on both ends because the facilities now they handle everything way different now. It's like so syphilis is a 30-day test down that they do because there was an uptick in the country of that. So it was going around and it was around for about a year. Different cities were popping up with having syphilis outbreaks and shit. I just happened to be the adult star who
Uh
was caught up in that.
yeah.
But in hindsight, I figured I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking because I always thought I was like low key. Nobody knew who I was. I could go under the radar and not, unless I wanted to be above it, I would be. But other than that, the choice was always to stay under the radar. You're a porn star. I'm a black porn star. There's love and there's hate.
Hmm.
And so, uh, and I've had to deal with both of those things the entire career, racism, you know, there's opportunity disparity, you don't always get the same opportunities and chances. Uh, so I had to deal with a bunch of those things, um, because the industry was still one of those growing, kind of under the radar things, but everybody knew about it. And I didn't realize I didn't know it'd become a national news story. I didn't know it'd be,
Oh man. Okay.
I didn't know it. I didn't know any of that. I didn't know that, I was also dealing with something from a previous situation. Like it was like a driving while reckless. I was drinking and driving,
Okay.
and I was on probation for that. So once I was dealing
Man,
with that,
so you're in it. You're dealing with
I
all
was in it. It was in it. I was in it. I was in it pretty deep, pretty heavy, and it was hard to go through because you don't have any. Your peers kind of distance themselves from you. Um, the social media, it can be brutal. Um,
Yeah, this is
you know,
2012, yeah. Uh,
yeah, yeah. Social media is brutal. You know, friends are saying things about you that like me. They wouldn't. My number ain't changed in like 20 years, so you can call me. So
right,
it's
but it sounds like people were, like, pe sort of, like, assigning you malicious intent where there was
yeah,
none.
yeah, yeah. I heard that, and to the industry's credit, I mean it's a trust factor. And I had broken that trust. I didn't handle my situation, you know, uh, clearly and transparently because I was, dealing with someone for the first time. I was trying to
Yeah.
figure it out
Did you
myself.
do you think you lost a lot of work over that
Oh, I
situation?
did. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
I think but it kind of what had happened was it took my personal, on one hand, this is the truth. On one hand, I'm a father. I was married at the time. I was a business owner. And a lot of those things are just they're not all on camera. It's not for everybody's consumption. And then on the flip side, I'm a porn star and social media activist. I'm active, social media active. But and I'm out there. I put myself out there, and now and this is 2012, so it was like a merge of everything that kind of came together. But it was an eye opener for a lot of people and for myself, big time, big, big.
okay.
So
Okay, good, good. Got a super chat from K Max. For Mr. Marcus, I saw you on the Melissa Ford podcast, and one of her co-hosts seemed very judgmental of your career based on her religious views. Did you feel this too? Does this happen often?
yeah, I mean, most people feel like they can talk to me. I love Melissa, by the way. Her podcast is really good. And unfortunately, that I love that show. Excuse me. I love that show. I thought I like it because everyone has an opinion, and for me, it's like I was listening to Prince over the summer, and Prince was very sex and spirituality, and
Yeah,
sex
super
music.
sexually open. Prince was like he just, like, exuded sex appeal. Like, I went to one of his concerts, like, I feel really blessed I was able to go to one of his shows, like, before he passed. It was, I think, Madison Square Garden. Had to have been, like, early 2000s because I went with my sister, and I was seeing, like, grown women, like, fainting, like a cartoon. Like,
Right,
I was like, "Oh, this is these women, like, he has an entrancing effect on people, and
right,
he just
right,
oozes sex appeal."
right, and that's that thaw we were talking about. Like he
Yeah.
melted.
He's melting everyone in the room. I was like, "Wow, we all gotta wring out our underpants now."
Right. And so you got this sexual energy, but he's also very spiritual. And we are very spiritual. We are very spiritual beings. So shout out to Blue, who was the one who was very spiritual and very woke. And when she brought it up, it didn't make me feel uncomfortable. I've had those same conversations with myself, the conflict, you know, being spiritual versus being sexual. Because they're kind of like, it's love kind of brings those two together. But not everybody's in fucking for love. A lot of people are just fucking to be fucking. So, so it's kind of like the spiritual side of ourselves kind of get left out in the conversation. So the fact that she brought that in, I welcome it because I have those same conversations. I as you get older and you get closer to meeting your maker, you do tune in to a spiritual awareness that you don't do when you're young. You know,
Yeah. Did you get, how did your family, like, how did your parents, how did your family react when you went into the industry? Because you must have been, like, how old are you when you joined? Like, were you 20s or
I was
something?
23.
23. So, what was your family's reaction to was there, like,
Well,
shame and
like
judgment?
like everybody who's come since, you all try to keep it a secret as long as we possibly can.
Yeah. Oh,
Like
yeah.
trying to hide the tattoo or the piercing you want, you just don't want to be judged by. I think my mom was actually the funny situation. How she found out was she used to work for the government, so she was in the billings, so she would bill all the contractors and stuff. And so I would always go by and stop by and visit her for lunch or whatever. So one day I came in there and I left, and later that day, and I hadn't really told her anything. And then she mentioned it that her coworkers said they had watched me. And
Oh, my
right,
god. How old are
right.
you? What year was this?
I was like 24 by that time, maybe going on 25.
Okay, so you were in the industry, like, 5 seconds and she found
Yeah,
you.
I wasn't even in there for a minute. And so my mom, instead of her saying that, she was just like the the wisdom that she said was, well, now I know more about my coworkers than I know more about my coworkers. That says more about my coworkers than it says anything about you. Like I know you,
Wow.
but now I know a little bit more about my coworkers. And when she put that,
Wow.
I know, and I was like,
That's
"Cool."
great.
I was
Like,
like,
that's very accepting
right,
off the bat.
right, right, right. I mean, sex is, and who would know better? Mom would know.
You were not immaculately conceived, Marcus. Yeah. Wow, that's awesome. Because I've talked to, like, I think Brittany, Amber, I've talked to a few girls who have children, and I always ask, like, "How do you?" And then there's, well, I interviewed this one girl, Allie Ray, who she left her job as an ER nurse and made a killing on OnlyFans. I think she said she made, like,
Right.
several $1,000,000, like,
Yeah.
just, like, something like 50 something K a
Y
month, like,
you know
some retarded astronomical amount of money, and she says that they're, like, militant about, like, blocking their son's friends on Instagram, like, they're constantly blocking, like, who they think
Mhm.
their son's
Oh,
friends are
got it.
because the friends are all, like, teenagers, and I'm like, "Okay, yeah, how long can you keep that up for? And how are you gonna get everyone? It's impossible." So, how did you
Yeah,
sort of like, how old are your children, and how do you guys, like, what are their feelings about what you do, and how did you tell them?
um, my kids are very, I don't know, the girls, so right off the bat, it was already going in a different direction, um, as far as conversation, but my kids are good. My oldest is 25 and my youngest is 19, and, a lot has to do with their mom. Their mom she was never in the industry. She's very just,
A normie.
huh?
We call them normies, like, in comedy, or like a
Normies?
civilian, like a
Yeah,
non
civilian. I would
yeah.
I would call her, but she's way more than a civilian. Yeah, she and so, and education was key. I used to what irritated me the most by having kids, I was very open about that. This was all a new experience to me growing up, coming up in porn. This is 93, 94. This is VHS. No one's thinking of internet. No one's thinking of DVD. We're not
Mhm.
cell phones and shit with video. Nobody
Those were the
Google.
days, though. I mean,
Right.
god, it
There's
was
none
so
of that.
much better in every way.
There's no, like no one will ever know unless you're a freak. And if you're a freak, you keep it to yourself. So
Mhm.
it was gonna
And you could keep it to yourself back
you
then.
could. You could be very private about,
Yeah.
now everybody puts it out, and you can't put the genie back in the bottle. So, that's the one thing I tell everybody. If you come into business, you put it out there, it's out there. It ain't going nowhere. You're gonna have to
Not only is the genie not going back in the bottle, but your parents' friends will see the genie. Everyone will see the genie.
everybody's gonna see the genie.
Mhm.
And you can block until you're blue in the blood in the face, but people find a way. They're nosy. People are fucking nosy and they know how to research. The kids nowadays can find it in a heartbeat, whatever they need to know.
Yeah,
So
one bathroom trip, they come back and they know everything. Yeah.
everything, everything. I've watched it happen. I've seen people walk up to me, biggest smiles on their face, and then walk away, come back later like what a
Oh,
total.
man.
So funny. But I'm too old to really trip on that and care. I kind of know what's going to happen. So if they have an issue with it, they have any problems with it, that's fine. I respect it. So I can't imagine kids nowadays are just they're going to be. I don't know what's going to happen with them. They have to be a lot more open and right.
Yeah.
They have to be a lot more open and accepting because they have access to so much more at an earlier age. So it gives them a little bit more of a worldly view of things, or it gives them an interest in those things because now they've been exposed to it at more formidable years. You know what I mean? So now it's
Right.
like so, let me see what this is about. So, I hope it leads to more better understanding and acceptance.
Right. Every generation has its challenge, I feel like, because 'cause I'm a millennial, and I feel like for us, well, and every current generation, the challenge has been, like, okay, learning about whatever new technology comes out every year, every 5 years or so, like, getting more savvy because that is linked with your career. Anybody who's any industry, any kind of business owner, any kind of entrepreneur, your social media has to be on point, and I feel like the challenge of maybe Gen Z and younger is going to be, okay, how do I put up boundaries to this technology? Like, how do I make sure my whole self is healthy? How do I make sure how do I what can I notice in myself that means I need to shut it down and get outside and touch some grass? Like,
Well,
how can I like,
people
you know what I mean? Like, what's my oh, I'm anxious right now. I need to go work out, you know? It's like they're gonna be good on technology, but I feel like for them, their challenge is gonna be like health of their whole soul and their whole body and, like, not
yeah,
losing
not
their mind.
yeah, not being dictated by what's on your cell phone. Not sitting there waiting for everybody to, respond or like or confirm or validate your, whatever. You got it. Thank God I was born in, you know, before cell phones. I was standing at a payphone putting dimes in that motherfucker. And when it went to a quarter, I was like, a quarter? Really? You know what I mean?
At the
So,
at the pool where I would go for diving lessons and then eventually became a lifeguard, like, and this is not even that long ago, my god, this is, like, right 90s, we'd be, like, at the pool, at the public phone, putting quarters in and dialing, like, 1-800-HOT TITS, and then, like, listening to the recording, like, "Welcome to 1-800-HOT TITS," and we thought we were, like, so naughty, and then we would, like, run and hang up the phone. Like, what were we even like, trying to get? I have no idea. Like, what did we think was gonna happen? But it's fun.
it, it's fun, right?
Yeah.
You're trying to, it's different now. I mean, now life is a mixture of all that shit. Drives me crazy. Drives me crazy.
So it sounds like, yeah, your kids know what's up. I mean, they're approaching being fully grown themselves and,
Yeah. And they're pretty focused on, I try not to bog them down with my shit. And, I'm like, I can handle it. If you need help with anything you're going through, I'll be there. Um, they're, college educated and career opportunities. They create their own opportunities. They're both pretty confident. Um, so, and but I encourage that in everybody. You can be a complete stranger to me, and I would encourage like you to tap into your strengths and focus on them, not your weaknesses. That's
that's
just me.
important. I wish I had more of that when I was growing up. I just felt, it's so easy for parents to be like, This is what you should be doing." Like, my mom was a secretary, so she was like, "Chrissy, if you go to college and you study hard, you could be a secretary one day." You know what I mean? Like, people just know what they know. They're like, my parents weren't able to look at me and be like, because for them, they're boomers. Like, for them, the idea that you could make a living off of
Right,
comedy,
right,
podcasting wasn't even a thing for them. It wasn't even a
right,
thought. So it
right,
was like, "Oh, no," like, at from our desire as parents to want you to be financially stable, like, we're gonna push you towards what we know is a financially stable
right,
path.
right.
But for me, it was just, like, really truly making me miserable.
How long you been doing comedy?
Like 10 or 11 years. I started in, like, 2010. And I just spent a lot of time, like, floundering, and I really only focused up I think, like, 2018, I really focused up and, like,
What,
um
what was that like? Your first time? Like 'cause I envision it,
Yeah,
but I
it was so scary. I had jokes, like, written on my hand, well, like, a couple words. I remember my mom was there, it was, like, my first official show. I did a couple of, like, bringer shows, which are shows where you, like, bring friends, and you do that so you get a good tape of you at a comedy show being funny, and then you can send that to, like,
okay.
festivals or club owners because 'cause you're just trying to get, like, better and more spots to get a better tape, to get
Right,
even it's, like, such an incremental and there's no, like, and I'm sure it's similar for the adult industry. There's no real, like, this is the path to success. It's like you have to just work really hard and
Right.
hope that, like, God will put you, you know what I mean? Like, you
Or
have to be like, "This is what I want, you show me the way."
right.
And, being open and again, like, it's so much about relationships and connections.
Right. Don't discount the fact that thinking, creativity, and your imagination, those are such weapons in your toolbox. Just being creative, just being imaginative, and then just being, think like having that thought, like thought thinking, like that intelligence behind when and when not to. You know what I mean? And how to. All of those things are like what makes living in entertaining world. For me, the draw. I get to. This is all original. You know what I
Right.
mean?
The
This is.
creative freedom, yeah.
Oh yeah, there's nothing else like this right now. Guaranteed. And when you make that mark, when you say those things, when you take those pics or plant that flag and that seed, what grows from that, I feel like it's just like, yeah, I love that part. That's the
I'm
part.
just visualizing you planting a lot of seeds.
I do.
Um
I know the house.
We're having fun. All right, K Max has another super chat. You guys were in the era of drive-in porn theater. You guys were in the era of drive-in porn theaters. My only knowledge of this was Pee Wee Herman did something there and got in trouble. How common were
Right,
these public drive-in theaters?
right. I don't. Pee Wee got caught not a driving, but just like a walk-in theater. That was a thing. They
Oh,
did a
like a
raid. They
peep
did a
show,
raid on it. Huh?
like that, like a peep show.
Yeah, yeah. He was in a peep show, and they just happened to do it in Florida. They do a lot of raids. They just feel like fucking with people in the middle of their sexual,
Interesting. Okay.
exploration. Poor poor Pee Wee, and he lost, and he went through all this backlash and shit. And he couldn't be Pee Wee no more, and for a little while, but he brought it all back. But I didn't grow up in that era. I did get arrested once for
Ooh.
shooting movies.
How did
We
that go down?
we were shooting next to a children's preschool.
Oh, no.
It was a house that had been converted into like I don't know, officially unofficial preschool, right?
Okay.
So we were shooting at the house next to that, and there was a
Like
wall.
a daycare or something,
Huh?
like a daycare or something like
Yeah, it was
that.
like a daycare, but they had the funny thing was the people, I guess, you had to literally climb up on something, look over the fence to see what we were doing. And so
You
they
were
had,
outdoors? You were like
yeah, well, we were indoors, but we were coming out, we were walking out after we were finished it was like an orgy, right? So
okay.
as soon as we were done, we walk outside. There's a pool, there's chairs, smoke a joint,
Oh, so
relax.
you're at the pool naked, you're
Yeah,
smoking
we
a
just kind of like,
doobie, having a
thing,
drink,
yeah, dicks hanging, swinging, tits.
post-coital glow. Yeah.
Yeah, the post, right? Job.
I'm making it sound so unsexy.
You come outside. Was
Yeah.
that good for you too? Yes, it was very good.
Like,
Thank you.
"Hey, kids, what's up?" "Oh, no."
And so, we shot this over the weekend, and so there wasn't no activity going on there, or so we thought. Next thing we know, cops come busting in, and just guns drawn and LAPD.
What? And you're naked and they have guns pulled on all of you?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I had my pants on, but my homeboy didn't. And one girl had her tits out, and another girl was like half clothed, half naked. So we were all caught in just off guard, way off guard.
Caught with your pants down.
Caught with our pants down. There you go. So and so we're like getting arrested for indecent exposure.
Did they let you guys put your clothes back on?
At first they didn't. At first, they literally handcuffed my homeboy, and he's butt naked, and it's a female cop.
Wow, that's kind of amazing.
I was like, man, this is even better than the movie we just made. Just like it was like I sat there and watched this unfold, and and I didn't feel no nervous. I've been in and out of jail, because growing up in Pomona, LA, you're getting profiled, so you're getting caught up in a bunch of bullshit. And so I wasn't freaked out. But I also felt the company we were shooting for was, going to bail us out. And we weren't doing nothing
What
wrong because
company was it?
it's a company called Video Team.
Okay.
And so we had taken out the necessary permits and everything. So it wasn't like we were just some ragtag thing. It was like it just was a
You followed
professional.
all the proper,
Yeah,
standards.
yeah, yeah. So I felt comfortable. I didn't feel any kind of way. So we get there, we get booked. They only booked the guys. They let all the girls go.
Interesting. Wow, that's sexist.
Right. So we go to
Like,
jail.
"No,
And
we're gonna talk to the girls. We don't need to, we don't need to bring them in. Let's not be hasty. Does any of you ladies need a ride home? Any of you who need some water? Anybody? Let's go
right. Are you
go to the
okay?
diner. Yeah, let's go hang out."
Right. So they totally, girls left, the girls stayed, us guys went to jail. And we got bailed out a few hours later. And the owner of the company, he apologized and everything. He says, "Don't worry about anything legal. We'll represent you." And maybe I don't know, 2, 3 weeks went by, and the charges were dismissed. Come to find out that the nursery, the preschool, was not zoned and had the right. They did not have the right permits.
Interesting. Now look who's wrong now. This is
So
not zoned for kids. This is only for outdoor sex. This is an
right,
orgy zone. Yeah.
right, right. So
Wow.
they ended up losing the school through all that shit. And, so that was my arrest. So it still shows up on my record, actually.
Oh, man.
I know it still shows up, even though the charges were dismissed. But I guess that's just, I don't know, some
That
shit that,
sucks.
yeah.
Do you feel like, if someone does gay porn that makes them gay?
Um, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I was expecting a really complicated answer.
Nah, yeah, they're gay, or they're bi, but there's, heterosexual, probably not so much anymore. Yeah.
It's interesting because 'cause I've talked to people that are like, "Oh, well, you just gotta be you have to be open to it. It's work. It's" I've heard people kind of explain it away, and I'm like, "Yeah, but you still have to have the desire to do that. It's not like you're at the mercy of anything." You know?
Right.
Well, I guess I have to go gay today. Rent's due, so
They call it gay for pay. So, it's, if you go that route, I mean, I just feel like, but hey, no judgment. That's,
yeah, no judgies,
your body. Do
but you're
what you want.
gay. Yeah. Have you ever been, like, pressured at any point in your career to I mean and I think that's really cool that you've never had, like, an agent or a manager. I haven't really either. Like, I've never been, like, represented by, like, anybody, so I've always felt like the underdog, so I think that's cool that you're kind of also in that position. Do you
Yeah.
feel like not having a manager or representation has you could have
Well,
avoided some hardships?
yeah, because other guys who've been in my situation or went through anything controversial in the industry had representation, and it was handled totally different. My agent at the time had been in the business, since the '70s. He was kind of old school, old fashioned. Um, so by that time, I had already taken on my career in my own hands and kind of did my own bookings and just managed it myself because I was also a director producer myself. So I would always so in the course of all that, you kind of learn how how to do the business by running the business, um, or by running the business, you do the business. And so, but those things I think are key because you got extra eyes and ears in places you're not, and you got someone speaking on your behalf and representing you to people that may be looking for talent like yours. And so if you're not there, but your agent is or your manager there is, they represent you on your behalf, and I think that's a benefit. You know, a lot of, and that's why you see why I have to be in so many different places because I don't have any representation like that. I'm my own representative. But I would say going forward, if you want to get work done and you want to better use your time, it's better to have an agent or
Mm.
manager.
Do you feel like you're at the point now where it's like enough people know who you are and know your body of work that like you can kind of just book on your own, like you have developed a fan base. It's kind of like you can take it from here, no problem.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's time consuming. I mean, I can really spend all day being Mr. Marcus and doing Mr. Marcus work. Like I saw your stuff, like your swag, your merch. You
Oh,
know,
my shirts. Yes, thank you. Yeah, I'm getting into these shirts this year.
yeah, right. And your barbecue
It's fun
sauce.
though, and I don't think that I always think, "Ah, okay, I should have shirts," and I always go to shows thinking no one's gonna buy these, like, but then people buy them and people are happy to, especially after, like, a stand-up show and I do well and fans have, like, a positive experience or they people
Right,
that you've been talking to on
yeah,
Twitter for months
right,
and months, and it's
right.
very cool to meet these people, and, yeah, then people buy the
And they want to
shirts.
support you. They want to support
Yeah,
you. They want to, they're inspired by you. You know what I mean? They become, lifelong fans in some cases. You know what I mean? So anything that you can, anytime they can feel like they can connect with you or have a piece of you, you know, they can
yeah,
add to the experience. You're doing it right. I've done a lot of this stuff, a lot of things, and it's when you're a one man band, it's just like you get
it's
like
exhausting. Yeah, you do need help. Everybody needs help.
everybody needs some help.
You mentioned earlier, that perhaps you've, like I don't know if per se you have experienced a lot of racism in the adult industry or what I think you said it was like, difference in opportunity. Um, d like, I don't know, what do you feel like are some of the most, like, egregiously kind of, like, uh,
Man,
racist moments
something
you've
something that something that kind of pissed me off. I mean, I remember there was, oh man, there's so many, but things that stand out. I remember John Ashcroft was uh, elected to Attorney General back in like 2001, and our industry was like freaked out because this guy was very religious based and anti-porn. So they imagined the feds coming in and swooping in and shutting down businesses and everything. So they came up with this long list of, they call it the Cambria list. There was a guy named Paul Cambria. I think he passed away. I'm not sure, but he was really the industry's representative, legal representative. So he came up with this long list of what they should and shouldn't do that would draw attention to them. And one of the last things, there was a list of like 20, 25 things. I still have that list because I just couldn't believe it. And the number one thing on there was no images of black men with white women on the covers. And
wow. This was something that was passed or that was proposed?
it was proposed and it was circulated to all the company
Okay,
owners and
damn.
and they literally were like, no black men. It was like a list of no gay men kissing on there, and no no role playing with young looking performers.
Like,
Uh,
no amateur looking, like
it was just all about these looking. We need whitewashed, straight laced, vanilla looking pornography from
so
here on out.
basically, like, kind of, like, elbowing out all the kinks, basically.
Stupid shit. It was
Anything
just so
that's not vanilla, yeah.
ignorant. It was just stupid. And so some of the things. So one of the ways they countered that, or they supported that, the industry supported that. I remember I was on the box of a lot of movies at that time, and it was a movie that I was on with a white girl, and I remember they literally put a sticker over,
What?
and I thought it was just a
Oh,
fluke. So
no.
I was in the warehouse, and I was like, looked at one box, and I looked, and I kept seeing like, why? And so they
Why do
told me,
all these stickers seem to end up on me?
and I
You
was
remember who
sitting
the
there,
girl was that you were with?
nah.
Okay.
No, unfortunately, I can't remember. I just remember like seeing these. Because they told me it was like, oh, it was an accident, but it was every single box. It was
A lot of accidents. Oh, man.
right, right. So that was probably the most extreme like form of it. It's just like what the fuck. But
How did you ended up in the warehouse where they were, like, producing?
well, you know what? Because I was very, I had been. The company was Vivid Video,
Okay, yeah.
and pretty popular, and I had worked for them. I was working for them a lot, so I was kind of like, this is the love I get.
Yeah, you
Real.
got stickered.
I was like, but I don't know. Racism is just something, and our industry plays into it, plays it up because it's a kink, it's a taboo. It's some people get off on that shit, you know. So uh, it's a mind fuck, that they do.
Hmm.
It's
Do
hot.
you
It's really what the industry can
do you
do.
think
Really.
that makes it hard for you? Like, it's right, where do you draw the line between, like, what is racist or what is, like, a kink? What is something that someone loves that's gonna get them off? And then it's like, are those lines blurred often?
It's all in execution. If you get someone who's got racist views producing racist
Mm.
content, yeah, it's gonna come through clearly.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You'd be like, "Why
And
do I have to wear this white hood? Just do it.
right,
Come on."
right,
Give them
right,
people what they want.
right.
Okay. Hmm.
Exactly. I prefer like to see two people have chemistry,
Of
white,
course.
black,
Yeah.
doesn't matter. And if they hint on the racial differences, so be it. But I think if you want to be stimulated, you should just get stimulated by the chemistry. That happens. That's a rare thing I think in porn.
Do
So
you feel like, black men are unfairly sexualized, like, in society as a whole?
yeah, yeah. I mean, we're all stigmatized in some kind of way. You could be a blonde, blue-eyed female and get treated a certain way. An Asian or Spanish,
No. Yeah,
señorita.
every group has their, like, preconceived like, every group can be stereotyped for
Yeah,
all sorts of
yeah,
stuff.
yeah. And it's a constant thing. It's just something. I think it's something people do. It's easier. It's easier to stereotype you than to get to know you better. It's easier to just sum you up this way without ever talking to you, without ever knowing you. you know, and because you don't want to take the time. So it's just people being lazy. I think. I mean, it's great for comedy. It's great for jokes. It's great for creativity. It's great for like breaking the ice or creating the ice.
Yeah. Thawing.
But ultimately, I think it's just people being lazy. That's all.
I always joke, like, I mean, how do I say this? It's like, do you know any black guys in the industry that are and by the way, I've never seen any of your work, Mr. Marcus. Like,
Right.
it's like keeping it very professional. Usually, the only porn I feel like I really watch are like my girlfriends that are in the industry, and I'll like watch it after the fact, like after we've, like, met or hung out or clicked, and then I feel like a supportive aunt, I'm just like, "Oh, look, good for her, look at her, she's doing it." Like,
Yeah.
I'm so weird, but I've never seen any of your work, Mr. Vargas, and, like, so I don't know how endowed you are, but are there guys in the industry, like, other I just think to me, I think it would be hilarious if you're, like, a black guy working in porn and you have a really small penis because it's like, "Ta-da!" But again, that could be a kink too.
Right. Right. It happens. I mean, it's not evenly distributed. You know what I mean? It's just you get what you get.
Some guys get all the dick. Yeah. Life's not fair, guys.
You gotta work with what you got.
True, true. It's about the motion in the ocean.
Yeah, some technique, some stroking technique is always gonna be needed.
Do you feel like the youth or as, the youth the how do I say wow, the more I talk, the older I sound. But, like, do you feel like, men and women in their 20s right now are seriously lacking in, like, sexual education, relationship education
Probably,
because of
probably.
how like, the shift from, like, having an online life versus an in-person life?
Yeah, man. Yeah, if you're leaving, it depends on who you're seeking for, uh, information. Where do you go for the knowledge, or where do you seek the wisdom? If you're, I've seen some girls just rely on a porn star to teach them how to do certain things. Or I mean, I can't knock shit. I mean, I'm a music guy. Music helps me figure things out. Um,
What do you like to listen to?
uh, obviously I grew up in, hip hop, R&B, blues, jazz, old soul, 80s rock, 90s. If you want me to be specific, I can listen to the Beatles. I can listen to Run DMC. I can listen to Michael. I can listen to Rick Ross, Tupac,
Prince.
Eminem, Dre, Prince, definitely Prince, Omar Apollo, Sade, Guns N' Roses, Metallica, Led Zeppelin, Um, I love Hall and Oates. I like shit, man. Whitney. Love Whitney.
Oh, Whitney, yeah.
Uh,
Janet Jackson, Michael Jackson. It's like,
love
I
Jen. I
feel
was
like
probably the same Jen,
there
right?
really is you listen to certain music from a certain decade, and it just puts you back like, "Ah, remember
Right.
remember
Right.
high school? Wow."
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and music is like the great, communicator. So if you're like not feeling something, if you're kind of like in a rut, in a mood, you know,
You can change your energy, and
that.
people forget that all the time. Like,
Yep. Like that.
you're not listening to enough music if you haven't found whatever it is that can pull you out of a mood
You're
or create
frozen.
a mood.
If you
Yeah.
need thaw, if you need to be thawed, music can do it.
Yeah. A lot of us need to be thawed, and we don't even know it.
Right.
When did you so you wrote a book called, The Porn Star Guide to Great Sex.
Mhm.
What is this book about, Marcus? Mr. Marcus?
It's actually right here.
Oh my gosh.
That's the cover.
Boom.
Oh yeah, there you go. There you go. It's it it kind of like it really is like unfinished. I reread it and I think, man, what the hell are you
Feel like I
thinking?
could always add more on. Of course, it's like it's a moment in time, like, that's what a book
Right.
is. It's like, yeah.
You can say things better. There's a better way of saying things. You know what you're trying to say. You just got to find a way to say it in a way where people can relate to it. And I think I figured how to do that. Over the years, I've written a lot of things. I haven't published anything yet, but this particular book started out as just a guide towards like how women can please men, and that's how it started.
I love woodwork.
Like woodworking, yeah.
Whoa,
That's the
woodworking.
important thing. Girls, they like, hey,
Do girl
bring
what
some wood.
what are women lacking right now? Like, from your experience, like, what are the areas that women are, like, lazy or lacking in?
I don't think women are lacking in anything. I think women are
Good
actually
answer.
great. Yeah, I think women kind of lead the way, to be honest with you. Where women go, men follow, and so do other women. Um, I don't. I just think maybe. Um, I mean, I don't know what's going on in people's bedrooms. You see a lot of that. Actually, I do know. If you go on Pornhub, you can see what's going on in everybody's bedrooms. But everybody finds their way. It's hard to tell people. I always try to help people if they're having issues. Can't keep it up. The woman is dry. She's not in a given head. Position hurts. She's not comfortable. She's not in the mood, or they're not in the mood. How to get into the mood. And I try to address all of that stuff because that's how the mind works. So, like everyone's dealing with something different. If you're handicapped, if you are, uh, into S&M, bondage, role playing, toys, how all those things you can incorporate into the bedroom without feeling embarrassment or shame or inadequacies. Um, it's just really meant to make you feel like, hey, everyone brings something different to the bed, and focus on your strengths.
Okay.
And you know what I mean. Try to find your techniques. Try to find chemistry. But everyone has something specific that they want to do or don't want to do, and so you need to find people that respect that and accept that, and or you're challenged in a way where you want to, but show me how. You know what I mean? I want to, but let's find a way where I'm comfortable and not get turned off. Because girls, anal sex, for example, if a girl has a bad experience trying to do it for the first time, she
That's
kind
gonna
of
be
like,
a hard sell. Yeah, that's
yeah,
gonna be I feel the same way about anal as I do the vaccine. I'm like, "You know what? The harder you push this, the less into it I'm gonna be. You can't promise me I'm not gonna get hurt. You can't promise me nothing bad's gonna happen." Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. So all of these things you got to kind of uh, take your time, be
I feel
patient.
like I feel like 99% of, like, sexual issues are mental. Like,
Mhm.
I think just like trust and also handling your emotions, like getting yourself to a place where you can even be open to being into the mood. And then people think that's a chemistry thing. That's a, oh, we fizzled. Oh, I got to find novelty. I got to get back out there. Oh, this, me and this person are stale now. And it's like, yeah, like after you get to a certain point with somebody, like you're with them, like, well, there's people, right? Everyone's,
Well,
gonna be interested
I
in novelty, but then it becomes work to like, okay, how do I, if I'm with this person, let's say, like after a year or two, whenever like the natural exciting hormones fade away, it's like, okay, now it's a job of. I
well,
don't mean to sound like it's a job, like it's no fun,
well,
but
no, it could be a chore. It could be like, I'm not really, I can know what to expect. I know it's going to be like, you're not, I don't, the wow factor is not there. The excitement probably is minimum. It's funny. I just had the thought the other day because sometimes if I'm with somebody, I don't watch porn. I just do all the kinky shit that I'm thinking and, kind of create it as we go. But I realized that porn is, she may need it, or we may need it together. We don't need much. There's no need to engage. If it starts to turn you on immediately, then
there you go.
there
Yeah.
you go. You know what I mean? If
You
you're
just
like,
need a spark. Like, yeah, you just need a catalyst.
right. You probably don't need much. And so I think and it didn't even dawn on me. Here I am, the guy who been making porn for like 20 years, like thinking, maybe I can, maybe she needs to watch something to really, really,
It's so true though, because I don't watch a ton of other people stand up. Like I just say what's on my mind and on my heart and my own experiences. So then people sometimes are shocked when I haven't seen every well-known comics like latest
right.
special or whatever.
Right.
So
When you just happen to come across something, instead of you like, oh, I don't, instead of you being totally opposed to it, being like, let's see what this is about. Because it may lead to something. It may lead to something greater. It may unlock a thought, an idea. Call it a random porn night. Let's see. And pick. That,
are you monogamous right now or you're dating around or what's your situation?
I don't know. I get the best. I get both worlds.
Okay.
Both worlds.
So what if the girl you're with is like, "I really wanna watch some porn with you," and then it's, like, not of you, it's, like, of
I
some
know.
other guy. How do you handle that?
I probably would be relieved. I probably would
Oh,
I probably would be relieved because I feel like this. If it's me, then if it's I don't know. I don't think everything I've ever done is worth watching. So I would be cringing for the first few seconds trying to figure out.
aw.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. We can watch this. Yeah, watch what I do here. You know what I mean?
It's coming up, here it comes.
Here it goes. See, look at
Yeah.
that, girl. You ready? You
Mhm.
ready for that?
You want one of those? Yeah.
I got you. Nah, I'm probably at a point where it's just like whatever it stimulates or whatever is going to make her happy, and if it works for both of us, then so be it. You know what I mean? I think you should be open to that.
Yeah. Alright, that sounds good. Let's see. Oh, interesting question from the chat. Has Mr. Marcus ever encouraged or discouraged a couple from introducing drugs into the bedroom? Like, is Viagra okay? Would you try to tell people to stay away from it? Or okay, then these are other drugs like ecstasy, oxytocin, or an egg beater.
Uh,
What?
it might actually, it
Yeah,
might be
what are your feelings on
the egg
Viagra?
beater might be the most dangerous one. You know what? I'm on one hand, my ego is like, no, no Viagra, no Cialis, none of that shit. But in reality, that's not the case. There's people who definitely would, who actually need that assistance that to jumpstart everything else. So I guess in drugs, you know, I got head on ecstasy once. I'm not a big drug guy. I like smoking weed, and that's about it. Edibles, yeah. But every to each their own. You know what I mean? If that's what it takes. I hear horror stories about coke. I hear coke is, gives you coke dick.
Oh, what is coke dick? Your dick is just awake and, like, very, very talkative and then,
No,
like,
it's
wants to
different.
get a lot done. Oh, the other way?
Yeah, I think it's the other way. They think it's gonna give them that, but it does the complete opposite.
Okay. Like, my dick thinks it's so funny all of a sudden now. Has so many great ideas. Yeah, I stay away from that stuff too. I just don't wanna feel like I'm out of control or whatever. In fact, I do really like CBD. In fact, this is a great time to talk about the sponsor for this episode, Cushy Dreams. Go to cushydreams.com. They specialize, I swear I didn't do this on purpose. They
I like
specialize in high quality bud and pre-rolls. I really like the pre-rolls. They have different indica sativa blends like Hustle, Create, React, Relax, Dream, Peace, Energy. So whatever mood you want to be in, Cushy Dreams has your back. They do tons of testing to ensure compliance and purity. Join the men and women who are sick of vapes and gummies and want to smoke their CBD. Very discreet packaging. I'm a big fan of their stuff. They've helped me so much with my anxiety. Ships anywhere in the US. Use promo code CMP to get 20% off plus free shipping.
Look at that.
Oh boy. James.
Yeah, weed, cannabis. I mean, shit. That's sometimes all you need too.
Yeah. And I just know for myself, like, I am going to be more in a place to get there if it's like, yeah, if I take a bath, if there's Epsom salts, if it's like just like a super hot bath that like knocks out. Because sometimes everyone's different. Sometimes people need a good workout. Like sometimes you just have to work through your stress physically. There's no mental figuring it out. Sometimes you just have to like work it through your body because your body
Right,
stores emotions and stress
right,
in ways that your
right.
mind is not always aware of.
You're absolutely correct. I talked to someone the other day about the masseuse working out the kinks because your body, you're lifting, you're moving things, you're crunch, you're sitting up and down, you're carrying a lot of physical uh, uh, dynamics, requests, demands. You're
Yeah.
putting a lot of physical demands on your body, and so you need to get those things worked out of your system. Sex is a good way to do that, though.
True, and this is the thing I've
Good sex.
learned in my 30s. I always used to think you have to be into it to have sex, and there are times where I've just been like, "I'm just gonna start having sex," and then I become into it, you know what I mean? Like, you get into it by doing it, and I think that's very important for women to know because it's so easy, like, when you're in and I've been there. You're in that cold, frozen state, you're like, "No, I'm not. There's nothing you can do or say. I'm pissed. I'm whatever." It's for whatever reason, you're like, "I'm just never gonna get there right now," and, honestly, it truly helps, like, I'm not saying, like, do something against your will or don't consent, whatever, but, like, if you're with your partner, your person that you're cool with most of the time, like, just fucking start to have sex, you'll probably get into it, and then you'll be, like, happy that you did, like, it'll be rare that you're like who regrets, like, having sex, you know what I mean? Even if it doesn't
Yeah, I mean,
always go perfectly, so
yeah, yeah. I mean, only thing worse than no sex is bad sex. So, uh, you know, but you can have great sex if you just kind of like find ways to, explore. I mean, and take your time. Don't feel rushed. You know,
true.
you
And
know.
I think it helps to remember, like, even if you've been with somebody for many years, it's like you don't know all there is to know about this person and the degree to which you cannot take someone for granted. Because think about it, like, if you just think of yourself, like, are you the same person you were last year? Are you the same person you were 6 months ago? Well, so is your partner is the same. So it's like, if you can keep remembering that you need to discover and learn this person, and that is part of what will keep your sexual relationship
Or
hot.
I mean, even you mentioned Exotica, and what Exotica does really well. They got like 3 or 4 conventions a year in different cities. That they just, a lot. I meet a lot of couples. I see a lot of couples that show up there. Here they are, happily married, but exploring, trying to find new ways to let, you know,
They're there, they're panting, they're looking around for a penis pop, they're ready for whatever.
right. They're seeking sexual inspiration.
Yes.
You know, and so I like that conversation. I like being a part of that. I like being a part of that inspiration. I like seeing that happen. I like seeing people reach out, try to
Yeah,
discover.
it's great to be open and you go to something like that and you're just, yeah, we're gonna see, like, what hits, like, what
Right.
what
Let's see
comes
what
at us.
works.
Yeah.
See what works. And I get and it never fails, man. Somebody will bring like their wife by and they're like, "Oh shit, Miss Mark," and I'll be like, and I don't, but usually I can pick her up, I can squeeze her, I can grab her ass, I can smack her, I can bend her over. It's like, and I
Wait,
look
wait, what? Are you talking about, like, women you meet at Exxxotica, like,
oh
couples?
yeah,
Like, if you meet,
yeah,
like, a
and I'm always
couple
amazed.
And then the
Right.
woman's like, "Hi," and then the guy's like, "Go ahead, smack her
Go
ass."
ahead. Smack her ass. Spin her ass.
That's fun, and then they go home and they talk about that for months.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm always like blown away. The dude's over there snapping pictures. Yeah, yeah, grab her ass, grab her ass.
Yeah, yeah, you just put your dick in her mouth real quick. Just a picture, just a picture. Just we're gonna hang it on the fridge. Have you ever worked with Ron Jeremy? Did you guys ever
I know Ron till I got, who doesn't know Ron? If you got in this business, he was, he's always a fixture at every event, every every function that had to
Mhm.
do with the industry. So yeah, I've always known Ron. I think we only did he popped up in a movie that I was in, but actually for like just because he was he was walking for a line or
Yeah.
two, take off.
What was your, like, impression of him?
A guy to me, and I worry sometimes if I'm that way too, but you stick around the industry a little too long, but if you don't really manifest other opportunities, business wise or anything that just growth, maturity, you kind of get into like a cycle of doing things. And with Ron, I think he just kind of got into a cycle of being this guy,
Okay.
showing up, doing these things, just repetitive. That was just his nature. And you got to realize this guy was around in like 78, 79. So he wasn't a big, people's boundaries were like, there weren't any, and if
Mm.
there
Just
were, they
anything
weren't
goes. Like, he came up at a time where anything went,
right.
basically.
A lot of things went and, so, and times changed and he didn't change with it. He always tried to remain the same.
That's how you stay young. You have to constantly be growing, evolving, upgrading your software, and
Mhm.
that's
Yeah,
and
yeah.
people do that. That's how people get crusty,
Right.
and,
Right. New
that's a
blood, new
yeah.
vibes, new energy, just new way of seeing things.
Yeah, new music, new clothes, like, all that stuff really has an effect.
It does. New food, new ventures, new, travel, new technology. All those things contribute to the quality of your life.
Yeah, it's not just like and if you're feeling, like, stuck and you're like, "I don't even know what's going on," like, just fucking donate half your clothes and, like, just don't be a slave to your closet, like, I'm
Right.
getting to that point, I open my drawers and I'm, like, so uninspired, and it's like I'm like, "Wait a minute, there's 2 drawers here of literally, like, just free T-shirts that I got, like, that are just funny, that have, like, dumb words on them, like, why am I just like, I look at it and I don't feel inspired. It's like, yeah, you can let that shit go. Like you can get a couple of fun new things, and
Yeah.
it doesn't mean you're like a superficial person or you're like, oh well, I don't. You can talk yourself out of it. Like, well, I don't need it. I don't need sexy laundry. I don't need cute pajamas. But it's like, well, that shit. I don't know. That
It's
shit
been,
definitely helps.
yeah, you never know. It might spark something that that you need to feel. So
Yeah, you don't want to look at yourself in the same clothes. You don't want to look at your person in the same clothes all the time. And
right.
yeah,
There's,
don't fuck
there's
that.
always new shit out there. There's always something. So just,
Yeah.
you know, reach for it.
Reach
So
for it.
reach for it. Reach for that D.
Reach for that D. That's what I'm titling this episode. Oh yeah, and you were also in a bit of well, this was a couple years ago, but you've definitely done mainstream TV as well. You were in a show called Oh Drama and also the Monique Show. How did that come about?
Just fucking, trying to be ahead of the curve. You know what I mean? Like trying to see where there's new ways where you can express yourself. I mean, because porn stars weren't getting the love that, you know, uh, the recognizability that
Yeah,
they
like recognition, like
the
sort of
recognition, right?
cross industry, like
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
acknowledgement or like respect, maybe.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Or just just being acknowledged. Like because a lot of people know who you are. They're just being shy about it. So
yeah.
you find other ways to just come out and you know say, "Hey, here I am too."
There I am doing this now. Do you get recognized a lot? Like, how many times a week do you get recognized?
A lot probably, but I'm like that type of guy. I'm not a homebody. I'm out and about. So, and most people, they don't. No one's meeting me on set. They're meeting me as a person I am, and I
Okay.
try to always make an impression. So
Yeah.
that That usually plays into it too. And then they find out about the whole porno shit, and then that just adds to it.
And then they're like, "Hello."
Oh, okay, freak.
Aw. Do you
You
consider
know,
yourself like a freaky person?
I've had my moments, but lately, nah. Lately, it's just been more. It's funny because I haven't been thinking too sexual. I've been thinking business, and I've been writing. So, but I like being sexual. I love being freaky and involved and engaged.
True.
Um,
It's all about balance. Like, I've in my 20s and, like, early 30s, like, I was too much, catering to the sexual side of me to the detriment of every other aspect of my life. Like, I wasn't even business-minded. I wasn't thinking about goals. Like, I was very out of balance. So it's good. Like, you just okay, a few weeks you're on this, a few months you're on this, and then you're like just you have to pay such close attention to your emotions because when you start being like, "Ah, I'm lacking, like, I don't know,
right, right,
I'm not feeling having fun, and I don't know why." It's like you have to check all your levels on all your like, think of them as like little gas tanks. Like, you have one for business, you have one for sex, you have one for affection, you have one for physical fitness, and it's like, be in tune with, like, where your levels are all at.
right. Tap in
Tap
different
in.
tap in different things. Yeah, I mean, it's constantly. I've been cats are talking to me about yoga, and I just like they said it's good for flexibility. It's good for working out the aches and pains, but also like kind of does something for your mental. So I was like, maybe I could try that.
Maybe
I,
do, like, a whole, like, porn yoga thing, like downward facing dog, I don't know, I see a collaboration, maybe.
this girl, she told me about it last night. She's like, and if you go, there's all kind of ass there. And I was like, and I
Really?
I didn't know I didn't know this girl from Jack. She was at the bar. I was like, and I think after she said it, she was kind of like,
Like like she is looking at asses, like, I
right.
I have to be honest, that's why I go, I always like to sit in the back row and just take it all in. Yeah. Oh, man, I used to really be into Bikram yoga, and people do you sweat in that? I mean, this was before it really came out that, like, Bikram himself was, like, uh, a sexual harasser, whatever. I
Oh,
kinda
right,
knew that the
right,
whole time, but I was like, "This yoga is really good." So,
right.
I just kept going. I almost became a teacher at one point, but, like, you sweat a ton. It's between, like, 90, 100 something degrees in there. People would wear, like, nothing. Like, we're all in tiny booty shorts. We're all, like, soaking wet. That would I would say a bigger yoga class is a place to go if you're
Oh, okay. Tiny
try
shorts, a lot
trying
of
to
sweat.
oh my god, it was like you but then again, and you look at people, you're also, like, out of breath, people are, like, red faced, you got a lot of out of shape people too, you got a lot of people dealing with, like, a lot of chins, a lot of, ill-fitting yoga clothes, so it's not always, like it was not always so hot.
Do you come out of there feeling more like? 'Cause when I go to the gym, I usually come out of the gym feeling like aroused, like ready now.
Yeah, you're like, "Let's do this." It's a high. It's like it's definitely a drug. Yeah, that's how I would feel with Bikram, either, like, totally exhausted or, like, totally
I go aroused
reinvigorated. Yeah, like, it was
after
so
the
good. It felt like
shower.
somebody was wringing all the stress out of my body. It was really
You
fucking I miss it.
you said you like to take Epsom salt baths to get you in the mood. Is that
I
pretty?
recommend that for people. Yes, it's just like I don't know, it's good. It's just like it's a reset on your whole body and like candles. Well, I'm into all that girl shit, bubbles,
Okay. So
you know.
you would never. So you're not the sweaty out of the dirty sex.
I mean, I've had it. I just like I remember I was like maybe I was at like a diving camp when I was like maybe 16 or something. I remember I was hooking up with this boy or making out really because I was like kind of a prude for a while. And we were like making out and he was like he cut the sleeves out of his shirts and he had just no sleeves. And I just remember he was like so sweaty and like sweating on me and it like took me out of it. But like I'm not one of these girls that's like, ew, sweat. This is over.
There are those girls too.
Yeah. If you're, like, kind of fit and taking care of yourself and showering, that sweat is okay, whereas if you're, like don't be showing up to anywhere to hook up and you're like, "Oh, like, I should have showered yesterday and I was pushing it." When you're alone by yourself, you can get away with that, but not when you're gonna go try to get some. Don't be bringing that cab driver sweat to a hookup. I don't care how many years you've been married. Wash your ass. All right. That's enough out of me. Mr. Marcus, this was so great. Thank you so much for coming on the pod. Where can people find you and follow you and all that good stuff?
All that good stuff. Catch me in my cab, sweating it up, just for nothing like calf sweat. I don't.
Cab sweat. Oh no, like cab, like smelling like a cab driver. We all know what I'm talking about.
Or smelling like a cab.
True. No booty sweat. Some booty sweat is fine. I'm just reading the chat.
What about ball sweat? How you feel about that?
I'm fine with ball sweat. Like, again, if you are a person who showers regularly and it's like sweating from the gym sweat, like that can be hot. But again, like if you've just been sitting in a video game chair for many hours, reabsorbing all your own farts, like that's gonna permeate the ball area. You know, if you've had an inactive day with maybe Cheetos involved, that's not gonna be good. You can have good ball sweat and you can also have bad ball. And you know what I mean? Like, look at the kind of day you had, and that's gonna tell you about the ball sweat, I think. I'm not an expert, but if there's good healthy vibes going into that ball sweat, that's gonna be fine. But if it's like a lot of like, if your ball sweat smells like a day of fighting on Twitter, and like you didn't do your laundry, it's gonna show.
Right. Right. I'll keep that in mind. Next time I'm sitting there playing Call of Duty, like absorbing my own farts. I'll think about you.
Just get up every once in a while, air it out, walk it out.
Right.
Spray it down. Wait, were you saying okay, right, I interrupted you. Where can people follow you? What are you're on Instagram, I think you're AKA Mr. Marcus,
Yeah,
is that your handle?
everything is AKA Mr. Marcus.
Okay, cool.
AKA Mr. Marcus, which is my thing.
Follow Mr. Marcus. Anything cool coming up on the horizon? Any projects?
There's a few things happening. You know, we're working on something about the industry, and then working on something about like all those little stories, all those little things that have happened over
Oh, awesome.
the decades in the porn industry. And then it's kind of like a history lesson in like where the industry was, where it's at, and where it's going.
Oh, I love that. That's
Yeah,
great. Yeah,
yeah.
because I know people would be so interested to hear all of your, like, little stories. That's why it's like, I feel like you should have been keeping track of this stuff over the years. I'm sure you have.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. I got it. I got it all. So
Alright, cool, exciting.
it's gonna be, I hope so. I hope it excites you. That's
Oh, okay. Yeah. And it's gonna be called Ball Sweat, the Mr.
uh,
Marcus
or,
story.
or reaching,
Reach
grab
for that D. Yeah, grab the D. I'm inspired. I don't know about you guys. Thank you so much for coming on, Mr. Marcus. It was great to talk to you again. Thank you in the chat for your comments and questions as always. Until next time.
Thank you.